Good morning, everyone. Welcome to LisaBug Mind Body Blend. And what I have for you today is primarily a yoga sculpting class. So Yoga Sculpt takes a yoga flow type of class and blends it with optional hand weights. And I have two sizes today. I have a pair of 5s and a pair of 3s. I also have my yoga block and strap and a blanket as optional props as well. So this entire class can be done without the use of hand weights. So once we get into a pose, say for instance, Warrior 2, we'll have the option to have our hand weights and do a little bit of upper body work and training. So if anything gets a little bit too strenuous for the shoulders, for the lower back, anything like that, you can always leave the weights out of the class. So we'll come to a standing position on your mat just to warm up through the body. Take a nice, long, tall spine, open the palms of the hands forward into our strong mountain pose. Take a nice breath in, sweep the arms out and up. Press the palms together, exhale, hands to heart center. And as we begin to warm up the body, I just want you to check in and notice how your body's feeling today, because each and every time we step onto our mat, our body is a little bit different. And it's a good thing to come to our mat without any expectations and just to let the body move and flow where you are today in your practice. We'll take one more inhale and exhale. Now sweeping the arms out and up, we'll sink into chair pose. And your feet can be tight together, knees touching, or you can separate the feet, hips distance apart. And notice where you're feeling any stretching in the body, any tight areas you might have today. As I'm sinking into chair, I feel my ankles stretching, the Achilles tendons, and feeling the legs warming up, the quads and the glutes. And you are working at your own pace in this practice, doing what feels good for you, taking any modifications that you need today. So continue this at your own pace and begin to add a twist from the right to the left with our chair pose, bringing an elbow across towards the opposite knee. So all we're doing is adding simple rotation of the spine. Nice and easy, doesn't have to be a deep twist, just to explore how your lower back, mid back, and upper back are feeling. And take your head with you on that twist, looking over the shoulder. And inhale as you rise, exhale as you twist. And we'll take one more to each side, the right side and the left. Then one more, the arms sweep up and sink right down into your chair pose through the center line. Now we'll hold our chair pose and extend the arms forward with the palms up or the thumbs up. And then as you stand, sweep the arms back behind you, open up through your chest. You can make this a baby back bend, and then sink forward, reach the arms, and pull back and expand through the chest. And with the breath, we'll inhale as we rise up, opening the chest, really fill the lungs with air, exhale and sink down. So it's movements like this today that we'll be using some optional hand weights to strengthen through our shoulders. But always those can be placed back down to the floor if it's feeling uncomfortable for you. Let's take one more. And then hold that chair pose. Now as you rise up, the arms will circle, open out and around, and sink back into your chair. Circle out and around, and sink into chair. So a lot of our objective with yoga and working on stretching and flexibility is to take us out of these postures that we're in a lot, like sitting in front of our computers, our devices, and taking those muscles that are typically tight and stretching them. Taking the muscles that are typically weak and strengthening them. Let's do one more. Come up, open out circle, and sink into chair. Rise back up to mountain pose. Separate your feet nice and wide with your toes turned out. Bend those knees a little bit, and we'll side stretch from side to side. Inhale and exhale. Starting to warm up through the side waist. And then we'll use our legs a little bit more with this. As you side stretch to one side, bend that knee. And coming up, and bend the opposite knee. And make sure always that the knees are tracking right over the second and third toes of the foot. So you're keeping that good alignment from the hip socket through the knee joint down into the ankle. Really finding a stable joint. Great. Stretching nice and deep through that lower back. And we'll take one more each side. Abdominals are nicely braced as well. And come back to center. Now reach the arms up, spread the fingers. We're in 5-pointed star. As we bend the knees, we'll pull the elbows back, open up the heart. This is called moonflowers. And then inhale to reach, extend the legs straight. Exhale to sink as deep as you'd like to go and squeeze those shoulder blades together. And make sure our tailbone stays slightly tucked. So as we sink down, we don't want to arch the back a whole bunch and place any pressure in the lumbar spine, but continuing to activate the core. And one more, moonflower. Then coming up into sunflower, as we reach up, the wrists will cross above, and then hinge from the hips as you bend your knees, and sweep the arms down, the wrists cross below you. Inhale up, the wrists cross. Exhale down. So we're making a nice big sunflower. Circular movement. Now, if you feel any strain in your lower back, you can keep this more upright. So you don't have to hinge from the hips. You can stay up and just sink down into the legs. If it feels okay for you to come forward, we're keeping our back neutral. Sending the hips back behind. Now combine these. Take one moonflower, one sunflower, exhaling as we reach down. Just alternate these two movements. At your own pace. We can take our yoga practice and almost shift our energy. So if you're feeling a little lethargic today, you might want to pick up your pace here and really start to feel energized. If you're the opposite way today and you just need to slow things down a little bit, that's okay too. And exhale, let's take one more of each movement. A moonflower. And a sunflower. Then back to our 5-pointed star stretch. Lower your arms and step your feet together. All right, I have a chair today just to place my hand weights on top of. You also might need it on occasion for balance or to sit during stretches. I have my hand weights here. You can use that to place your weights back and forth when we're not using them, or you can set them to the floor. So I'd like you to come up to the top of your mat. And we'll take a nice inhale, sweep the arms out and up. Exhale, swan dive into forward bend. Just hold a nice stretch here for a couple of breaths. And make sure if your hamstrings are really tight, you can bend your knees quite a bit. And inhale to halfway lift, come up, flat back, extend. Exhale, fold back down. Reverse swan dive, come all the way up. Place palms at your heart center. So now taking our hand weights, we'll inhale, circle sweep the arms up. Exhale and swan dive down until you can reach your hand weights. I'm just going to start with my 3s today. And then place them at your heart center, bend your knees, and we'll step our right foot all the way back into a nice warrior 1. Now I have the weights at my chest when I'm moving forward and back in and out of chair pose. So we'll step that back foot back into chair and bend both knees. And then we'll step the left foot back into warrior 1. And I just want you to get used to having the weights in your hands as you're moving back and forth from chair to warrior 1. And back to chair and warrior 1. So at your own pace, we're going to be switching back and forth between these 2 poses. As you step into chair, the weights are at your chest. As you step back to warrior 1, our option is to bring them and press them up and stretch them towards the sky. Bring them back into the heart and step that back foot forward into chair. And then you'll switch, left foot steps back, the weights reach. We step in, back to chair. And again, without the weights is great. Same thing, you press the palms at heart center, then sweep your arms up into warrior 1, and then bring them down and switch. Feel the core nice and active. If you've got a couple of selection of hand weights, make sure you're using the size that works good for you. Or you can hold one weight in both hands as you press them up also for an option. Let's take one more with the left foot, stepping back, reaching up, and then back to our chair pose. Now we did this next round in the warm-up. So as you stand, bring your weights back behind you, open up the chest. As you sink into chair, let the arms raise forward. And I'm bringing them at about shoulder height, really no higher than that. And I want you to feel 2 separate actions. So as you sink into chair, we're getting the fronts of the shoulders and the thighs and glutes. As you rise up to mountain pose, we're bringing the arms behind us to get the backs of the shoulders and upper back and feel a stretch across the front of the chest. Now with our breath, as you sink into chair, it's your exhalation. As you rise up, pull the arms back and inhale. Let's do 2 more. Working through those shoulders. You can also bend your elbows a little bit if that feels more comfortable for you on this movement. Last one. And then as we come back to center, we'll hinge from the hips into forward bend, and the weights go either to the top of your chair or to the floor. So we work through a half series vinyasa. Hands come to the mat. Step your feet back into downward facing dog. Now before we half series, pedal out your feet a little bit so we can stretch through the backs of the legs, the calves, the ankles, the Achilles tendons, moving into the feet and the toes. And this pose can also be done with your hands on top of the chair if that feels better for you today. Really broaden through the upper back. And then we'll press both heels evenly down towards the earth and taking a look at your feet. They're hips distance apart and the feet are parallel, straight ahead. Now on an inhale, we'll glide forward to plank position, and I want to hold our plank for a few breaths. You can always drop to your knees. Some things to check here is the position of your head. So when we're in plank, we want a nice straight line from the tailbone through the crown of the head. Sometimes the head gets tired, we start to drop it down, or we tend to look forward and pinch the back of our neck. So really keep that head neutral. And then from your plank pose, push back to down dog, using your arms and your shoulders. Inhale forward to plank. Exhale to push back to down dog. Now an option for this is to inhale forward to kneeling plank and push back to a child's pose. You'll get the same stretch here through the shoulders, but from the knees, it's a little bit less strenuous for the shoulders, the wrists, and the upper body. We'll do one more. Come forward to your plank. And then everyone in downward facing dog and hold. And we'll place the knees back down onto the mat, coming to all fours. Moving through cat and cow. Inhale, gaze forward, let the belly drop down. Pull your shoulder blades back. Exhale and curl up. Really open up and create space in the back. We'll just do 3 more of these just to find that nice mobility in our spine. And 2 more. And one more time, breathe in, gaze forward. Breathe out, curve the spine, tuck the tailbone. And then come back to a neutral spine. So now we'll flow through a half series vinyasa. The first time we'll do this is from our knees. So we'll press back to child's pose. Reach the arms out nice long in front of your body. Inhale forward to kneeling plank. Exhale, lower the belly down to the mat. Keep your elbows in tight towards the midsection. Inhale up to a baby cobra, lengthen the spine. And exhale back to your child's pose. So this is always a wonderful option in a half series. We'll move through this one more time. Inhaling forward to kneeling plank. Exhale, bend the elbows, chaturanga. Belly comes down to the mat. Inhale, lengthen the spine, cobra. Exhale, back to child's pose. So always know that's a wonderful option for you today. Second option is from the toes. We'll tuck them underneath. Come up to a nice downward facing dog. Inhale to high plank. Exhale, bend those elbows. Lower halfway down. Inhale, lengthen the spine and turn the tops of your feet to the mat. Upward facing dog. And then lift the hips and exhale back into down dog. There's many variations in a half series, so I'm just showing you a couple of those today. We'll do that one more time. Inhale, high plank. Exhale, bend your elbows halfway down. Inhale, lengthen your spine forward, taking the tops of your feet to the mat. And exhale, lift the hips back into down dog. Hold your down dog or drop to child's pose 3 breaths. And if you have any other modifications that you enjoy in your half series, I want to be sure you're taking that today. So we'll lift our right leg up nice and high, stretch it up. And we'll start to circle this leg around a couple of times each direction, warming up our hip through that nice circumduction. And then stretch it up, reach high, take a nice big step forward with that right foot all the way up to the top of your mat. Make sure you bring that foot way up. Take hold of your hand weights and then rise up to high crescent lunge. Pull your shoulder blades back and down. Now we'll bring the arms to bend about 90 degrees here and lift the elbows out to the side for a lateral raise. And close down. Out to the side, lateral raise, close down. If your weights are really light, you want to do this with straight arms. You can straighten them all the way, open out, and lower. And the arms are just coming up to about shoulder level, maybe a little bit lower than that. And if it's bothering you to be up on the back toes tucked under, you can flatten that back foot to the floor and make this a warrior 1 rather than a high crescent lunge. Let's do 2 more repetitions. Raise up and lower down. 1 more, raise up and lower down. Now carefully we hinge forward, bringing those mats down, or the weights down to your mat. Hands are on the mat, push back to down dog. And we'll lift the left leg up. Circle that leg in your hip socket a couple of times each direction, keeping the core engaged. And then lift that leg really high. Swing it through between your hands towards the top of your mat. Help that foot along the way if you need, and then your weights are right there next to you to pick up as you rise up into Crescent Lunge on the other side. Now really lift your chest, stack your shoulders over your hips, try bending those elbows about 90 degrees, and open the elbows to the side for our lateral shoulder raise. And we're just going at a nice slow pace, very controlled, because we have to stabilize with our core as we balance here in Crescent Lunge. We can also take those arms a little straighter, opening directly out and closing. And we breathe as you lift the weights up. That's your exhalation. As you lower down, we're inhaling. 3 more repetitions. Out and down. And 2 more. 1 more time. Lift and lower. Carefully, we hinge forward. The weights come down to the mat. This time we'll step the back foot forward into forward bend. Take a little stretch here. Let your head relax. You can shake it side to side, up and down. Relax your lower back and your shoulders. 1 more breath. And then we'll bend the knees fairly generously. Circle sweep the arms out and up as we rise up into upward salute, Urdhva Hastasana, and place the palms at your chest into Namaste. Inhale, sweep the arms out and up, stretch. Exhale, swan dive into forward bend. And then we'll step the right foot way back behind you. As you pick up the weights, we're coming up into Warrior 2. So I'm going to turn my body right to the middle into that Warrior 2 stance. So we want to check before we do anything else with the body that we have our stance correct. Placing this knee right over the heel, the ankle, and the hips as squared as you can get them. The weights are right down in front of you. We'll bend the elbows about 90 degrees. Open out just as we did in our Crescent Lunge, and then rotate your hands into goal post. We'll close the elbows in towards each other. Open back out. Then rotate back and close down. So we breathe in, lift. Breathe out, rotate. Close the elbows. Open back out. Rotate and come down. Nice and slow. Lift. Rotate. Close together. Open. Rotate and come down. At your own pace. Remember, you can do this without weights. Absolutely fine. It's just giving you that extra resistance to tone the muscles and strengthen. And we'll do 1 more for a 5th repetition. Close in and out and lowering down. Bring the weights right to your chest. Turn that front foot forward in, pivot. Turn the opposite foot out and sink into your Warrior 2 on the other side. Good. Bringing the weights into the chest gives the shoulders a chance to rest. And then we'll bring them down in front of you about a 90-degree bend. Make sure your stance is good and set. And then we'll move into that arm flow. Lift. Rotate. Close. Open. Rotate. And release down. Now find your core, really engaging through the transverse abdominis. Everything is nice and braced through your midsection. And from the hips down, everything is stable. There's really no movement of the body here. Just honing and shaping the shoulders and upper body in this mindful, slow movement. And again, lift, rotate, close, open. And we've got 1 more repetition on this side. Very nice. Nicely done. And then bring those weights to your chest. Pivot both toes forward. And then we'll hinge down into a wide leg forward fold, bringing your weights down to the mat. Release them there and hold a wide leg stretch. Let your head relax again. Your shoulders are relaxing. Lengthening the backs of the legs as much as you can here for a nice stretch through the hamstrings and glutes. One more breath. And then we'll pivot towards the left foot. And so we're in a low lunge. Step back to down dog. And then we'll drop our knees down to the mat. We'll be on our hands and knees for a bit. So if you need some extra padding, I always like to bring my yoga blanket along with me, or you can make a double fold in your mat. I've got my weights down on the floor, one on each side. Come to a nice neutral hands and knees position. So we're going to take the weight into the right hand and lift the elbow up so it's nice and parallel to the floor. We'll straighten that arm into a tricep kickback and then bend the elbow back to 90 degrees. So one of the most common errors with this exercise is I start to see people straighten and then they swing the weight all the way forward to their shoulder. So what you want to be sure that you do is stop here at 90. So you're just doing the back 90 degrees of the exercise, not coming forward towards the shoulder. As you continue this, moving at your own pace, your option is to send your left leg straight back. So you're in spinal balance. You're balancing on your right knee, your left hand. The left leg is extended back nice and strong. And we are strengthening the right tricep. And 2 more repetitions. One more, straighten that arm, hold it straight if you can. Slightly lower the arm and lift it up behind you. Now it doesn't take much weight for this exercise to really burn in that shoulder. So if it's getting too much, just set your weight down and just use your arm weight. And we'll lift and lower, 4 more. Up. Brace your abs, try to square off your pelvis. 2 more, lift. 1 more, lift. And then bend your elbow, set your weight down to the mat, and relax your left knee down. We're going to do a thread the needle on that same arm that we worked. Make sure your weights are out of the way there. Reach your right arm up, stretch, and then thread that arm underneath, laying your shoulder down and hold a nice stretch. Now we can take the left hand and wrap it behind the back, reaching your fingers into your hip crease, or that left arm can reach out long towards the top of your mat, stretching there. We'll just hold a couple more breaths. And 1 more. Then press into the left palm of the hand. Push yourself up, stretch up 1 more time, reach, and set that hand down to the mat. Now we have the weight in the left hand. We'll pick the elbow up, hold it, straighten the arm for a tricep, and get the upper body work first. And then when you feel stable and ready, your right leg extends straight back. So you're balancing in spinal balance. Now, if our core is not engaged, sometimes our back will arch too much here. So I want you to pull your belly in, bracing the spine with the transverse abdominis, those deep muscles of the core. Check the alignment of your head and neck. Make sure it's neutral. And just bending that elbow to 90 degrees. 2 more repetitions. And your back leg is really active and strong. And then we'll straighten that arm and hold it straight. Lower the arm slightly and lift it up using the back of the shoulder. Exhale to lift. Inhale to lower. If the weight gets too heavy, set it down and just do the arm movement. And 4 more repetitions. 4 and lower. 3 and lower. 2 and 1 more. Bend your elbow, set the weight down, and set your knee down to the mat. We'll thread the needle on that side. So left arm reaches up, stretch, thread it through, and hold your stretch. Right arm can reach behind the back or out long to the top of your mat. And just relax the upper body. Breathe into the twist. One more breath. And then place the palm of the right hand down to the mat to push yourself up, open back out into that twist one more time. Stretch and set the hand down. Inhale, gaze forward to our cow pose. Exhale, round up to cat one time. And then come back to a neutral spine. Tuck your toes underneath behind you. Lift the hips up into down dog. Press into the heels. 3 breaths. And 2. And 1 more breath. Now either walk your hands back towards your feet or your feet to your hands, coming into forward bend. And then we'll roll the spine up 1 vertebra at a time. Restacking the spine to a nice standing position into our mountain pose. Pull those shoulder blades back. And just check in, see how your body's feeling. So we did a nice round for the triceps, and I always believe in muscular balance. So I want to also work the biceps. For me, I can pick up a little bit of heavier weight. So we can move our blanket. We'll be standing and balancing in tree pose. So I'm going to swap over to 5-pounders. Now, when you're balancing, you have the option of holding onto a chair or a wall and only doing the weights in one hand. If you feel you have pretty good balance here, I want you to hold on to weights with both hands and bring your elbows to about 90 degrees. And then stand on that right foot, pick up the left knee, rotate it out, and come into tree. Good. So you can also tap your big toe to the floor if you need for balance, or you're going to set one of your weights down and hold on to the wall or to the chair. Excellent. So we'll rotate the palms forward, bend or slightly straighten out your arms so they're lowering down, and then bend to about 90 degrees or a little higher up. So there's a working zone here of the biceps. If we straighten our arms all the way down to completely straight, we don't have any workload. If we bring our hands all the way up to touch our shoulders, we don't have really much workload. So I want you to work in about a 3/4 range of motion here in your bicep curls. So we have some work in the muscles all the way through. Good. So we're working on balance, stability, core, breathing, and the biceps. Let's do 2 more repetitions here. And 1 more. And then tuck your weights back in close to your body. Bring your knee forward and step down. Good. I feel it in that standing ankle and hip, so you can shake it out just a little bit. Let's do the other side. So slightly widen your toes a little bit on your standing leg, creating a nice strong base of support. Pick up your knee, rotate it out to the side, find your tree pose. And it's okay if your toe is down. You're still going to work on balance while you're stabilizing and have a little extra assistance. Once you have your balance, open your hands out, palms up, Lower down, you have a little tiny bend in your elbows, and then you come up, but not all the way to the top. Finding the working zone of the muscles, and then really good posture. Lengthen up, root down into that left leg, all the way up through the crown of the head. If you lose your balance a little bit, take your time, come back in. Breathing. And 3 more repetitions on this side. 3. Excellent. 2. And 1 more. Close the weights in together. Bring the knee forward and step down. Good. Come back to mountain pose, maybe shaking out your legs a little bit. Excellent balance pose. Roll the shoulders up, back, and down. Now we'll move into Starfish Pose. So standing on the right leg, you're going to turn your foot out a little bit. Step your left foot out to the side and tap your big toe. Bring the weights again towards the chest. Now we're going to lift this leg off the floor, any amount, finding our balance, and then your option with the weights are to press up and open into Starfish, and then close the weights back down at your chest. So you're making a V shape, pressing up and slightly out, closing back in. Now you can leave the big toe of your left foot tapped to the mat for a little bit of extra help for balance. You can do this without weights, or you can just hold the weights at your chest and not press up and down. Good. 3 more. Starfish pose. Nice and steady. 2 more. Breathing. 1 more time. Press. Close it in. And bring that extended foot back to the floor. Shake out the legs a little bit. Hope we're doing good at home. Shift your weight into that left foot. It's slightly turned out. We'll tap the big toe of the right foot to the floor or lift it up off the mat. So it's really important to find your balance and stability before you start to move through the upper body. So once you feel stationary and settled, option to press up and wide, close in and narrow. So we have our V shape here. Good. A lot going on in the body. So our brain is really tuned in to what's happening into this pose to help us to find our balance and to stabilize and to keep good form and alignment. 4. And down. 3. Ooh, that standing calf and shins, feeling it. 2. Good, good, good. 1 more. Press up. Bring the palms into heart center. Lower the leg down. Shake out those legs a little bit. Let the arms rest to the side of your body. Great. Okay, we are going to combine a pyramid pose for flexibility with some upper body work. So you still have your heavier weights if that feels okay for you. We'll turn to the side, taking your right foot forward slightly towards the top of your mat. So I don't have my feet very far apart. It's not a really super long stride. The back foot is slightly turned out. So keep your spine neutral without rounding your spine. You're going to hinge forward from your hips and the weights come down about to the level of your knees. And then I want you to come back up again. So this is essentially a single leg deadlift. We're working the hamstring and stretching it on that front leg, and we're stabilizing with our core. So this is incorrect. Rounding forward And coming up, I want you to keep your spine really neutral. Let your tailbone go back and pull up. Now, if you have that flexibility in your hamstring to go deeper, you can come down a little lower, get a really good stretch, and then pull up. And when you pull up, I want you to push your right foot down into the floor to create some tension in that hamstring. Now, next time we come down, we'll hold here and find a stable pyramid pose. Both elbows pull back, squeeze your shoulder blades, and then straighten your arms. So we're holding pyramid with a strong core. That front knee has a tiny, tiny micro bend in your knee. So I want to make sure you're not locking that front knee out and placing any undue strain on your ACL ligament. So we're going to really soften that knee a little bit. Squeeze back and down. Now check to make sure that your lower abdominals pulled in. In yoga, it's the Uddiyana Bandha, the abdominal lock. We'll do 2 more. Row back and down. 1 more. Row back and down. Now, if you want a deeper stretch, you can either come all the way down, set your weights on the floor, or set them on the chair in front of you, and then lower all the way down and relax into your pyramid stretch. Hands can be supported on your chair or your block as well. And we'll just hold here 3 breaths. Also relaxing through the upper back muscles because we know we have 1 more set with our arm work. And then we can bring the hands right to the hips, soften that front knee, and rise up. As we step the back foot forward, we can collect our weights and then step the front foot back. A short stance position. We want to get our hips to squared forward. Back toes can be turned out a tiny bit. And then with a neutral spine, not with rounding the back, we hinge forward and the weights come right about down to the knees, a direct angle to the floor, and then push your left foot into the earth as you come back up. So that's going to activate your glute and your hamstring on that front leg as we do this single leg deadlift. With the breath, we can inhale down and exhale to push up, or the reverse of that is fine as well. Exhaling forward and then inhaling to come up. Just want to keep that breath moving. Now notice if you're feeling some activation in your hamstring. I want you to send the mind to the back of that front leg and into the glute. 2 more repetitions, maybe coming a little further if that feels okay for you. And then we'll hold the last one in place. Isolate that pyramid from the lower body down, nothing moving. We'll pull the elbows in and straighten the arms. So some things to think about is the stretch in the front leg and a micro bend in that front knee. That the hips are level, that the spine is neutral. There's no rounding or curving in your back, and your abdominals are really zipped up and engaged. And that your head position is neutral, so we're not dropping our head down or jutting our chin forward. We have 3 more repetitions. Strengthening the upper back, and 2. 1 more, squeeze back. And then as we take a stretch, your option is to set your weights to your chair or to the floor and hold your pyramid pose, finding your edge, the depth in that pose that feels good for you. Your hands can also be on your chair or on a block. And we'll hold here 3 breaths, combining flexibility with our strength movements. One more breath. And the hands can go to the hips, softening the front knee. We'll rise up to stand and then step the back foot forward, coming back to mountain pose. So we're moving down to the floor for Navasana boat pose, and we have the option to use our weights with us. So if you need a little cushion to sit on, if you have a very thin sticky mat, you can bring your cushion down to the floor. I'm going to bring both sets of hand weights to make sure I have what I need here. And then we'll come into boat. So with boat pose, there's so many options, but we are going to have the option of using our weights today. So I'm going to start with my light weights. Holding on, we'll hinge back, engaging the core, and your feet can stay on to the mat, or we can lift them up and balance. Now bring your weights together at the center of the chest and rotate to one side. Look over that shoulder. And then come back to center. Rotate to the other side. And come back to center. So if you choose feet down on the mat, looks like this. Rotate. And center. And rotate. And center. If we want a little bit more work, we rotate and then reach your arms away from you. Bring them back in and come to center. Other side, rotate. Reach away a little bit. Center. And come in. We'll do 2 more each direction with any of these variations. Breathing, breathing. If feet need to come down, that's okay. 1 more each side. Really stabilize with your core. Here's our last one. And come center. The feet relax down. The arms relax down. And let's take a Batakonasana stretch. So we'll bring the soles of the feet together. Allow the knees to open into butterfly and stretch through for the lower back. And just allow the knees to fall open with gravity. Or you can add a little push down by activating the muscles of the outer thighs. And 1 more breath. Then as we rise up, close those knees back in, and we'll come down onto our mat, flat on our back, with your hand weights. So with either size, we'll come into our dead bug position. So this is a reverse of spinal balance. So we're on our back, knees are in tabletop, and I'm going to use my heavier weights for this one today. So option 1, your feet can stay down on the mat. Option 2, your knees are up into table. So we're just going to extend the right leg straight ahead, brace your spine. Extend the left arm over the head any amount, brace the spine. The arm comes back in and the leg comes back in. Now the left leg goes out long, hold, brace. The right arm goes over any amount. The arm comes in, the knee comes in. Now I'm blending those movements together. As the right leg goes away, the left arm goes away, and we come back in. Left leg, right arm. It's the reverse of spinal balance. If you flip this over to your hands and knees, you'd be doing that bird dog movement. Now, really important to keep your spine neutral. You can almost imprint your lower back down into the mat. If it's too strenuous to do with the weights, set them down. Or you can take the arms completely out of the movement and just alternate that single leg extension. Let's do 1 more on each side. Brace and brace. Come back in, bend your knees, set your feet down to the mat, and just press your heels into the mat. We're going to push the hips up into bridge. Open both arms out to the side, chest fly. Close your arms in, and then lower your hips down from your bridge. Press the hips up. Open your arms, inhale. Close your arms, exhale. Lower your hips down. Now we're going to blend these movements together. So as your hips are lifting, your arms will open all at the same time. Hips up, arms open, hips down, arms close. So we're doing our hip bridge with a chest fly. And you can choose to exhale or inhale as you come up. 4 more repetitions. Using those glutes and hamstrings. Your toes are lifted off the mat to activate your shin muscles. Elbows can be bent any amount depending on your weight choice. 2 more. Lift and lower. 1 more. Lift and lower. Bring your arms down, resting your weights beside you on the mat. We'll hug both knees into the chest as a nice counter stretch from our bridge pose. Now we're going to combine core strength and flexibility of our hips. So coming into figure 4 stretch, we'll cross the right ankle over the left thigh and slightly open this knee out. The fingertips come back behind the head so you can relax your head and not challenge your neck muscles. So as we do an abdominal curl, pull your knees in toward you by pushing your left knee into your right ankle and then lower down until your heel touches the mat. Curl in, exhale. Lower down, inhale. Now, if you're feeling any of this in your lower back, try not to lower the feet down as much. You'll only come about halfway down so that your pelvis doesn't lift and you feel that spine slightly imprinted into the mat the entire time. 4 and 3. 2 and 1. Now we'll just hold our figure 4 stretch. Your head can come back down to the mat and we can pull those knees in. You can also reach through the back of the hamstring on that left leg and pull the legs in toward you for a nice hip opener. And just relax through that outer thigh. Both ankles are flexed. Taking 2 more breaths. And then we'll switch to the other leg, lowering down, cross the left ankle over the right thigh, open this knee out a little bit. Fingertips go to the back of the head. We'll inhale to prepare. Exhale to curl up, pulling the knees in towards your chest. Inhale as you lower the right heel back down to touch. Exhale to come up. And again, if you feel any pain in your lower back, just slightly lower that right foot down and squeeze it in. Full exhalation, combining flexibility and core training. And 3 more repetitions. Nice and slow movement. 2 and 1. And then hug those knees right into your chest for a good stretch, or reach through the legs, pulling it up. Relax your head, neck, and shoulders. Both ankles are flexed. Nice hip opener. Two more breaths. And then we'll just prepare to come up to a simple cross-leg pose. So lower those legs down. You can either roll over to your side and press yourself up, or hold behind the legs and rock yourself forward until you can come all the way up to a comfortable seat. We'll cross the ankles and sit nice and tall. Find your core, find that alignment of the spine. We'll take a side bend over to the right, reach. And then come back up. We'll bend that right elbow or left elbow, grab a hold of it with the right hand, pull it back for a tricep stretch, and then we can side bend again that same direction. Lengthening back out some of the muscles that we worked today with our strength training, our yoga sculpt. And then we'll come up and then bring that same arm we're stretching across, hug it in, or we can wrap into eagle and pull the elbows to the right, looking over the left shoulder. And bring the head back to center, unwrap the arms, reach out, take a side stretch over to the left, open up through the lats, through the rib cage, and come back up, bend that elbow, give it a pull to stretch your tricep, and then side bend again the same direction. Make sure your head stays neutral. We're not looking down, finding that good alignment of the cervical spine. And then come back up, bring that arm across for your shoulder stretch. Either hold here or wrap the arms into eagle, pull the elbows to the left, looking over the right shoulder. And then bring the head back to neutral, the elbows open out into chest expansion, goalpost arms, pull the shoulders back, lift the heart. And then internally rotate, reach behind you to stretch through the shoulders one more time, or you can grab your yoga strap and hold your arms behind your body. Drop your chin slightly down to your chest. Keep lifting the arms up, feeling length through the pecs, fronts of the shoulders, a little bit into your biceps as well. And bring your head back to neutral. Release the clasp of the hands. One more breath, stretch up. Palms come together as we exhale into the heart. And as always, it is my honor and my pleasure to teach you this morning. May the light and love and joy that resides within me honor the light, love, and joy in each of you. Namaste. Thank you so much, everyone. I'll bring our recording down. If anyone would like to stay on for a minute or two, say hello. I'd love to hear how your workout went today. Namaste.